So, ladies and gentlemen, what was the worst trade of the early 1980s? Well, there's quite a few, but this one, we didn't think it was going to be a weird trade because Boston traded an eventual 50-goal scorer to Chicago for a very capable rear guard called Mike O'Connell. But the trade worked out for Chicago more than worked out for Boston, and it took this player from being just a 30-goal scorer in junior to being a 50-goal scorer in the NHL because he was playing on a line with Denis Savard and Savard-Secord-Larmer. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, he put in points like crazy. So today we're going to be talking about one of the original power forwards in NHL history, the great Al Secord, now drafted 16 overall by the Bruins in a 78 entry draft, 6'1", 205. Now played with Sudbury, played with Hamilton in a Memorial Cup winner in the late 1970s. Grew up in Espanola, Ontario, after his birthplace in Sudbury. He won a silver at the World Juniors in 77 with a very strong Canadian squad. He was an OMJHL All-Star Game selection in 77 with St. Catharines. Now, in 76, he played on the Hamilton team that won the Memorial Cup. He only had 22 points in 63 games, but 9 counters made a difference. Now, he was on the Hamilton team that relocated to St. Catharines for the 77 season, and then returned to Hamilton for the 78 campaign. Also played defense at times in junior hockey. Now, he also trained as a boxer during his junior career, and a very versatile guy. He worked as a forest fighter for Canada's Ministry of Natural Resources in Northern Ontario during off seasons of his junior career. He also spent considerable time on the job in airplanes, which sparked his lifelong interest in becoming a pilot, which he later became after his career. Now, he debuted with Boston against Pittsburgh on October 12, 1978, wearing his famous number 20. And he carried that on that number to Chicago and Toronto. Now, he went through several retirements, but retired for the final time in September 96. Now, in 766 regular season games, he had 273 goals, 222 assists, 495 points, and I said power forward. He had the penalty minutes to show it with almost 2,100. In the postseason with Boston, Chicago, Toronto, and Philadelphia, he had 21 counters for 55 points and 382 minutes and penalties. Now, of course, these big campaigns were in the early 80s, in 82 and 83, when he made the All-Star game with Chicago. Of course, the big season with Larmer and Savard in 83, where they had 54 counters. He also holds the Chicago record for the fastest 4 goals by one player in one game. They came against Toronto, his future team, in 8:24 on January 7th, 87. He was Chicago goal leader with 44 in 82 and 54 in 83. He also led Chicago in penalty minutes with 303 in 82, 180 in 83, 193 in 85, 201 in 86, and 196 in 87. He was their playoffs points leader and goals leader in 81 and playoff assists leader. He also led Chicago in playoff penalty minutes in 81, 82, 83, 84, 86, 87. He was all Toronto's penalty minutes leader in 88. Now, we thought he was going to go far in Boston because he played on a line with Terry O'Reilly and Peter McNabb in the 80 campaign, but for some reason, the Boston management felt he couldn't fit in after that. He scored a goal on Ray Burke's first NHL assist during Boston's October 11, 79 contest versus Winnipeg. Now, injuries really hampered his career. He missed parts of the 81 season with a bruised right knee, an injury he suffered in October 80 contests, and with an ankle injury suffered in March 81. He set Chicago's single-season record since broken with 303 penalty minutes in 82. Now, ironically, one of his biggest penalties was a double game misconduct and a one-game suspension in the 83 playoffs for his role in a brawl during Game 3 of Chicago's first-round series versus St. Louis in April of 83. Now, he tied Chicago record since broken for most goals in a regular season and playoffs combined with 58 in 83. Again, the big line with Denis Savard and Savard-Secord-Larmer in 83 and 84. Another big injury was a torn abdominal muscle, an injury suffered in the 83-84 campaign. He also missed part of the 85 season with pulled abductor muscles in his thigh, an injury suffered during a Chicago practice on December 12, 84. He also missed part of the 88 season with a rib separation, an injury suffered during Toronto's October 16, 87 game at Detroit. Now, he also wore the famous number 16 in Chicago's '89 training camp. He also played in the AHL and the IHL for a while with Rochester, Springfield, and Chicago. Now, at Canada Cup in '84, he was a reserve, won a gold medal, but did not play. At the World Title event in '87, he helped Canada to the fourth place finish. He also dabbled in inline hockey with Chicago with the RHI for a campaign. Now, he was also a WHA draft pick of Quebec in '78, but did not sign. Now, he had retired for the first time on August 29, 1990. He also played 18 games for the Chicago Cheetahs of the IRHI in '94. He then came out of retirement on September 10, '84 to play 2 seasons for Chicago of the IHL before retiring for the final time at age 38 in September 8, '96. He also spent summers during his playing days managing his family's very popular sporting goods store in Espanola, Ontario. He also became active in old-timer charity hockey after his retirement, balancing it with his career as a pilot. Ironically, ladies and gentlemen, the most unique thing I remember of him when he made the Hockey News front page, and even my dad said I would never think Al Secord would be a big scorer for Chicago. You never know with a player. Now, Secord eventually earned his treasure pilot's license during his playing days, and after his retirement, he became licensed to fly commuter jets in both the States and Canada. After working as a commercial pilot for United Express during the '90s, he moved to the Dallas area and began work for American Airlines in '98. Now, Secord specialized in flying a Fokker 100 79-seat aircraft on commuter flights. His second wife, Tracy, also worked as a pilot for AA, and the two met during their job training. Now, again, the Michael O'Connell deal on December 18th, 1980, which brought him to Chicago. Now, the 50-goal season was kind of bizarre, but before that, in '82, when he scored these 44 goals in 80 games, he was also assessed 303 minutes and penalties that campaign, making him the only player in NHL history to record 40 goals and 300 penalty minutes in a single season. Now, I take what happened with the Bruins. He did score 23 goals in 1980, but in the early '81 campaign, he didn't score in the first 18 contests. Boston thought he was done, and then he was gone. Now, when he joined the 50-goal club in '83, it was kind of wiped out that he's only played just 14 games in '84, and it took him two full seasons to regain his scoring touch after his injuries. Now, the 40-goal campaign came in '86, but after a 29-goal season in '87, he was dealt to the Leafs, and this was the Rick Vives, Steve Thomas, and Bob McGill trade, where Olczyk and Secord went back. I don't think Toronto benefited from that trade. Now, Secord again spent 2 seasons to the Maple Leafs, where he was eventually traded for a 5th-round draft pick in '89 to the Rangers. To the Flyers, and the Sabres eventually got that pick and selected defenseman Keith Carney. Now, he re-signed with Chicago as a free agent and finished his NHL career in 1990 with 14 counters in 43 games, and again went away for a couple of seasons and he came back to the IHL. Now, he has 3 sons, Ryan, Alec, and Luke. He sometimes does work on behalf of the Chicago Blackhawks Alumni Association. He also has coached youth hockey in the Dallas area with the Texas Junior Brahmas organization. And again, he's a native of South Lake, Texas, which is a suburb of Fort Worth. Now, the Memorial Cup, he played 3 games in '76, scored 60 goals over 2 seasons with the Finn Cups in St. Catharines and Hamilton. Rochester, he had 6 points in 4 games in '79. First season with Boston, he had 16 counters. 1980, he had 23 counters in 77 games, but really stands out in '81, where he had 0 goals in 18 games and 13 over 41 since the trade. But the big campaigns, again in '82 and '83, 98 goals with almost 500 minutes and penalties, with 18 points in the postseason. And that '82 Chicago team, ladies and gentlemen, was pretty strong. He was sort of a burnout in Toronto with only 15 counters in 74 games in '88, and the Leafs in '89 only 5 goals. Now with the Wolves, he had middling numbers with 33 points in 59 games in '95 and 16 points in 47 games in '96. Now at the World Juniors, he had 2 counters in '77 with 2 assists, and 2 assists and 10 10 games in 87. And a roller hockey with Chicago Cheetahs, 11 counters and 25 points in 18 games in a regular season. Now, yeah, he's on a very unique list, ladies and gentlemen, of NHL players with 2,000 minutes and penalties. And ironically, ladies and gentlemen, that leaves him, I think, right now, number 46 overall, behind the former line mate Terry O'Reilly. And not to say bizarre that's ahead of him, you got these players. You got Rob Ramage, Keith Tkachuk, Brian Watson, Steve Smith, Stu Grimson, and Terry O'Reilly, and Zdeno Chara is behind him with Ronnie Stern, Mick Vukota, and Gord Donnelly. So only 12 campaigns Secord played, but like I said, a very, very interesting career in hockey. What really stands out for me with Al Secord, ladies and gentlemen, with a player that knows how to go to the net. He didn't really have any skills that stood out, but when you play with Denis Savard and Steve Larmer, I mean, those are 30-goal scorers and 70 assist type of guys. That was a hot line for Chicago. And he came within a couple of inches of beating the Oilers in that era, because I think he softened up the Oilers quite a bit in the regular season towards the playoff, and especially like 82 and 83, the Oilers and Chicago, was a very huge rivalry. But I think Al Secord, not saying the most underrated player in Chicago Blackhawk history, but pretty freaking close. I really enjoyed Al Secord's play. I don't think he would have done the same thing with Boston because he didn't have Steve Larmer or Denis Savard. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're doing here, we're a sporting podcast for the NHL. Let us know and like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.